My dining room chairs are falling apart. Two need to be fixed. I figured before we go ahead and ditch them all, we have four of them, that I would try to fix them. I'm here to show you exactly what I did and maybe give you some insight as to whether or not you want to tackle this project yourself. All right, so here is the first broken chair. The leg, obviously the chair is flipped over here. Uh, it started to go, the whole chair. Luckily, nobody fell, but you can clearly see here in this corner that this piece that the leg is attached to was starting to be separated from this crossbar. This is a front leg on the chair, and you can also see that I had put in two screws earlier because it started to crack. That lasted a little while, but not too long. In order to get this fixed, here are the tools that I used. I didn't have any other wood other than some flat fence pickets, so I measured the entire wood piece here across the front and cut it with the circular saw. The other thing is you're going to see that this piece of wood is notched where this angled piece goes into, so I needed to cut out notches, and I do have a Dremel. I use the 199 attachment. It's used for sawing wood. It looks like a little saw blade, and that ended up coming in handy. It wasn't that easy. It was annoying, but it wasn't awful either. I thought I would try a jigsaw, but the blade on the jigsaw was too long. It would cut the whole piece of wood, and I really didn't have time to set up some fancy maybe platform so the jigsaw would just make cuts for an indentation. You could use a chisel and a hammer, I guess. I used it a little bit to try to clean it up, but I just figured with the Dremel it was as easy as I could make it. Okay, the first thing I had to do was to get the cloth off. It's just stapled, so all I did was use a screwdriver and pop the staples off. Of course, some of them were easier to pull out than others. Once I was getting the staples off, in the middle here again is another shot of the damage that was done, that and the wood that I need to replace. And again, the picture on the bar right here shows how bad really the piece of wood just fell apart. In this frame, this first shot on the left, you're looking at the entire piece of wood that I had to replace. Again, I had separated the upholstery from the wood, got the staples out, and it was easy to pull it from this end here at the bottom of the picture because it wasn't really attached to anything anymore, and then I had to pull off this other side. In the middle, you see a shot. I took the corner brace. I thought it was broken. I needed to replace that too, but it turned out it wasn't. It was just a little chipped. It wasn't cracked at all. But I used it to make marks of where I needed to use the Dremel and dig out channels in the wood piece so that I could fit the corner brace into the piece of wood that was going to go across. Here on the right, what you see at the end of the wood is I've already started using the Dremel and cutting out the channels. And what I did was I used a marker and filled it in black. So as I was drilling out with the Dremel, I knew exactly what wood I needed to cut out, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't have to do this over again. You know, the control of the Dremel is not the easiest thing, but it wasn't the hardest thing either. And of course, I had to keep going back and forth, making sure it was fitting with the pieces that were still left on the chair, those corner braces that hold the legs. And of course, you have to do it on one end of the wood and then flip it over and do it on the other end as well. All right, in this last slide, this picture all the way to the left, you see the piece of wood, now the front piece that I replaced, and it's fitting on both ends here for the corner pieces, the brace piece where the leg goes. Here on the top, almost in the middle, this is the corner that was damaged, and now I'm just trying to fit it back. Down here, this bottom picture, not only were there these little screws that you screw into the wood besides trying to fit the wood in the channels, but then I put in two screws from the outside in before I was going to put the upholstery back. And this very last picture on the right is kind of the completed shot. The leg is back, the bolts are back in, everything fit, and now I of course am going to have to bring the padding and the upholstery back over and staple it back in place. Overall, it was not really that hard to do. Just trying to figure out how to notch out the wood for the long piece of wood to fit into the corner pieces was the most annoying part. I used the Dremel. You might have some definitely some better technology like a table saw. You could just cut it out real quick. I don't have that, and I wasn't going to go buy one. And I can tell you the wood that these chairs are made of for these frames on the chair seats is the cheapest wood that I've ever felt in my life. It was light as a feather. It felt like balsa wood. It was cheap. I'm hoping it stays together, and we'll see what happens. All right, one final note here. I did mention chairs at the beginning of the video. In this second chair, what we have is we have um, a crack literally in the brace on the side of the chair from a front leg to the back leg. And this is almost all the way cracked through. When we got the chairs originally 5 years ago, this one was partially cracked, but it was holding, and we tried calling customer service, couldn't get through, and finally I said the heck with it, and I put a metal kind of plate here and put some screws in. You kind of see the holes. Well, now of course the crack has gotten worse. Once again, I'm using a screwdriver to get the staples out, pull away the upholstery, and then what I did in this next picture on the right is I literally just took a piece of wood and I went ahead and screwed in the wood on the one side and then held the two legs to kind of bring the two pieces together and screwed it in on the other end as well. And you can see, just to make sure, I put back this just metal rectangle with holes in it and put this in on top of the edge over here to try to hold it in place. And then even over here, there was some little crack, so better safe than sorry. Just when I thought everything was fine, I had to go back to the drawing board, well, almost the drawing board, for the first chair. As you can see here, I'm going to add a bracket here on this leg, and the same thing on the opposite side for the first chair that really broke. The legs just aren't holding. My kid literally was on it for about 2 minutes. She went ahead to drag the chair, and you could almost hear it crack again. So much for thinking I did such a great job. Let me just show you another picture. This is the braces on the front leg. I'm doing the same thing for braces on the other front leg. Hopefully now it will hold. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking of getting some L braces and putting them right here next to either side of these bolts, which are really, again, kind of flimsy. That's the bolts you bolt into the leg itself, but just so this little kind of, I don't know what you would call this, angled piece hopefully won't fall apart. Anyway, that's what I did with my dining room chairs. I wish you the best of luck. If you have any other input, I'd love to hear it. We thought about maybe putting some leg braces around the legs, but then really it's going to look ugly. This is the best I can do. If this doesn't work, I guess it's the end of these chairs. Anyway, again, I hope it's a little inspiration for you. Good luck with your project. Thank you so much for watching.